Are you a real estate wholesaler and every single morning you get up and you are a good boy or a good girl? You sit on your computer and you get your list of leads of all the people that you've been speaking about, and you've had great rapport with them, and you're going to sit down and you're going to follow up with them, and you're going to have amazing conversations. You're going to feel good. They're going to feel good. But there's a problem, because at the end of the day, you haven't made any money. You haven't done anything that even is closely related to making money. Now you might be wondering, Chico, why is that? I mean, I'm following up with my leads. Well, that's the problem. The problem is that, and in this video, I'm going to share with you a different shift in mindset that's going to allow you to not only get more deals, but to also not waste your time with tire kickers and sellers that are never going to do anything. So you have to shift your mindset, first of all, is from a mindset of I'm going to follow up on my leads, to the mindset of when you get up in the morning, is who am I going to get to sign a contract today? Because it's not about following up with your leads. It's about figuring out of all your prospects that you have in your hand, which ones are the most likely to be at a point in their life and in decision making with regards to their property that they're going to go ahead and do a deal with you and sign a contract. You having an amazing conversation, you building rapport, all that stuff, it might give you the warm and fuzzies, but at the end, it doesn't make you any money. And so it is a different approach of who is going to sign a contract with me today. Now, once you have that mindset, then the next thing is who out of all these prospects, and I'm looking at some of my notes here so I don't forget, who of these prospects are the most likely that you could do a deal with? If I ask you, how many hot leads do you have? And you tell me, Chico, I have got 40 hot leads. I would tell you, you have 10 hot leads that are lost in a sea of another 30. And chances are, when you eventually figure out who's a prospect and who's not a prospect, you're going to have a nice conversation with the seller that's going to tell you, oh no, I already sold it to somebody else. You're going to look at those numbers and you're going to say, oh my gosh, I just lost $15,000 or $20,000. The most horrible thing you ever want to hear as a wholesaler. 10 leads is in my head the number. When I used to be a real estate agent, I had a real estate coach at the time, and he's like, you have a list in your mind of 10 people that you are continuously thinking about them and wanting to get a deal done with them. Now, that means that is a absolute number. That means that if you have 10 leads, if I have 10 leads right now, and then today another 3 or 4 leads come into my world from my ads. I do online marketing, so we have inbound motivated seller leads coming in. If you want some information about that, click the link in the description. I digress. And if I have one more lead that shows up in my radar that I think is a good deal, now I have to make a decision, because now I got to keep that number at 10. Somebody out of that 10 is going to have to be eliminated. Because what happens is that as you know, like if you're doing any sort of lead generation, you get your first lead and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This seller, oh my God, they're so great. But guess what? After you talk to 7 of these sellers, you realize that lead number 1 that you thought was a great deal was a big turd and a half. So it's not really a deal. So everything is relative, not absolute. A deal is a deal relative to what else you have in hand. For some of you, you are doing cold calling, you're doing all this crazy stuff, and you barely got any leads. And so every person that breathes air into a mirror, you think it's a lead. I, on the other hand, I am swimming with leads. I've got so many leads that I have to, it's like one of those zombie movies where they're knocking through the door. I have to send them away. I have to tell them, look, don't call me anymore. I can't help you. That's the kind of problem you want to have. But again, everything is relative. So, but at the end of the day, you should have a very small number of leads that you know, like the back of your hand. You wake up in the middle of the night like you're having sex with your wife, and you're thinking about lead number 8. Man, I hope they sign that contract. That's the way it should be. All right, don't tell that to your wife. All right, and ladies, I'm not discriminating against you, but we're just going to keep it like that. All right, now, if you have a focus on these leads and you are intensely focused on who am I going to get a contract signed with today, when you get on the phone with somebody, now your mindset is different, because you're no longer on the phone with them to build rapport and to see how they're doing and all this other stuff. No. You were on the phone with them for one thing and one thing only, to see if they're ready to make a decision, if they're ready to move the ball forward. Mr. Seller, I'm calling you back because I know we spoke about that property. We're buying 2 or 3 properties this week. I would like for yours to be one of them. Are you ready to get the ball rolling? Are you ready? What do you need in order to go ahead and be able to make that decision and move the ball forward? Because I want to be able to buy your property. But we got to go ahead and get the ball rolling. I got to take the first step, which means I got to send you the agreement. We're going to go over it and then get the ball rolling. I'm giving you that contextually. Obviously, may not be the script that you are going to be using. But at the end of the day, if you walk into the call with that intent, it just changes everything, because now your scripts are different. The intent upon which you are having a call is different. Now, let's talk about moving beyond what I call endless follow-ups, because you have to be okay with letting leads go. You have to be okay with, it's like that old saying that says, if you love something, send it away, and if it's meant to be yours, it comes back. So a lot of times we let these leads linger, versus and so you'll end up having a bunch of leads that you're following up with, and they're not ready to make a decision. They're never going to make a decision. They're asking too much, and their circumstances are not anywhere near that they would sell you the property at a discount. So what you end up doing is just wasting your time with these people. You have to be willing to let go of them. You have to be willing to draw the line in the sand with these people and say, listen, I'm looking to buy a property, and we typically buy properties that need work and fixing up. We cannot pay retail value. If you tell me that you're in no way ever going to consider, ever, in any capacity, anywhere near the price that I'm suggesting to you, then I'd rather you tell me that now. We'll shake hands, part as friends, and then I'll leave you alone. All right, again, not necessarily the script you're going to be using, but you get the gist. You have to be willing to let these leads go. Now, of course, all of this is predicated on the fact that you need a leads coming in daily. And I'm going to make another video about this, because that is the single biggest problem that you guys have in right now, is the fact that you don't have an influx of leads coming in. And so every single lead, you treat it like it's coming in a little pillow that you have to like coddle, and you have to treat like it's the only lead that you'll ever have. And so you can't do that. But that's a different problem for a different day. And the other thing I want to talk about is the next thing, the final thing here. Again, we just talked about that, moving away from endless follow-ups. The last thing is that you need to be able to discern what is a lead and what isn't a viable lead. If you have a seller, right, that has a situation on their hands, they have a problem, they have a tenant that has a problem. They've owned the property for 30 years. They have not been inside that property. You look at that property on Street View, on Google Street View, and it looks like a bloody mess. Like, it looks bad. And they're telling you, oh yeah, I'm gonna evict the tenant, and I'm probably gonna just repair it myself, and then go ahead and put it on the market. And you're talking to this person, you realize that they're an elderly person, like older person, like they're up in age, so they're not gonna. It's not like a young whippersnapper, 25-year-old that got inherited the property, and they're gonna roll up their sleeves and do all the work. Like, this guy, like, he ain't gonna do that. So that's a lead that is their situation is gonna unravel at some point, despite their view of the world that they're gonna fix this situation with their problem property. That that's not gonna be the case, and so now you're gonna put that potentially as a lead that is a high probability lead to follow up with. And I want to make a distinction, because in the beginning of the video I said 10 leads that are hot. Now you might have another, say, smaller number of leads. It could be another 20 leads that are long-term follow-up. I'm going to put a reminder, I'm going to follow up with that person, in 20 days, in 30 days, or whatever the time frame is. That is a separate list from the hot list. The hot list is you're talking, you're dreaming about those persons. You get up in the middle of the night, you wake up to use the bathroom to take a piss, and in your moment of contemplation, you're thinking about Joe Smith. Man, I hope I got to call Joe tomorrow, because I think that I got to get a contract signed by them. The other guy that has a tenant that they're going to evict, that might be, hey, I'm going to reach out to that guy in 2 weeks, because I have a feeling that when the tenant moves out and it leaves it like a bloody mess, they're going to be faced in that situation, and they're not going to want to fix up the property, not going to deal with these realtors, and they're going to say, and I'm going to be there, and I'm going to say, hey, what's going on with that property? And they're going to say, I'm glad you called. I'm not doing this. What do you got? Let's make a deal. That's a situation. Now, the only way that this absolutely makes sense is that if you have an overabundance of leads coming in each and every single day of property owners that are looking to sell their property at a discount. If you want to know how we do it with online marketing, make sure you check out either one of these two videos that will pop up here, and then that way you can do the same.